I'm Chester Leung. I am one of the co-founders at Opaque Systems, and today I also serve as the head of platform architecture there.
Wonderful. And I'm Marshall Kirkpatrick. It's nice to meet you. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
So, Chester, tell us, what do you think are the most interesting and important problems that confidential computing solves? What brings organizations into this paradigm?
So it's interesting because you can answer that question both from a business perspective as well as a technological perspective. I'll start from the tech side because that's where kind of our background is, myself and the other founders of Opaque. So I'll begin there, but the framing of the business application, the business approach is actually a little bit different. On the technical side, right, it's a data privacy issue, right? As we all know, AI is evolving, it's growing exponentially, even day over day. And as we all also know, AI relies on data to be powerful, to be robust. The more data you have, in particular, the more high quality data you have, the better your AI insights, the better your decision making will be. And the problem that we've been seeing right now really is that companies sit on a lot of data. Data is their moat, but they're not able to really operationalize a lot of the data that they own because it's siloed, it has to be confidential, it has to be private. And the result of that is that they're not able to fully leverage the value of their data in their confidential data pipelines or their data pipelines in general because of these kind of privacy restrictions. So really, confidential computing provides a solution for companies to basically unlock their AI projects on all of this proprietary data without actually compromising the underlying privacy of that data. And by doing this, right, they're able to kind of return the right of privacy to their end users while simultaneously being able to offer them the benefits and the insights and the decision making that AI offers. So that's on the technological perspective. Now, on the business perspective, right, it's, as I mentioned, a little bit different. Everybody knows that data privacy is an issue. Everybody knows that data privacy is the main blocker for AI projects. But what we've come to realize is that it's really a kind of time to value proposition for confidential computing, which I had never thought about 4 or 5 years ago when we were doing research in this space, not at all. What we've come to realize, right, is that confidential computing can actually serve as an accelerant or a catalyst for companies to deploy and deliver the AI projects much faster than they otherwise would be doing. It's interesting because today we were actually talking to one of our customers at our booth, and he was saying that just to start the project, he has to talk to 6 different teams, like 8 different people. He's sending out emails left and right just to be able to figure out who to talk to get access to the data for their initial pilot. And this is just a pilot. It's not even anything close to production, right? So he said even that process is so tedious, it's so annoying, causing him so much time. And you can imagine as well, like, it's just one guy that I'm talking to, and the cost of him as a part of the company is already tremendous to the company. You multiply that by 5, 10, 100. I don't know how many times these companies are doing it, but a lot. And it's costing the company a lot of money and a lot of time because it's just so much. There's just so much of this happening. So what we've come to realize with confidential computing is that a lot of these processes that are so manual, that are so meticulous, can be kind of automated away by a kind of confidential computing enabled platform that can deliver a lot of this kind of privacy almost in an automated way, because you can stack policies, you can stack other kind of cryptography software on top of confidential computing to make it such that the software as a package can really accelerate a lot of these processes.
That's great. I want to ask you from a platform perspective and a technological perspective, from a privacy perspective, about something that you just mentioned.
Sure.
In particular, the ability for confidential computing enabled AI to lead to better decision making.
Mm-hmm.
That seems really exciting and interesting. But I feel like people discuss things like that in vague terms often, and I wonder if you've got some specific thoughts or insights about how this can help improve decision-making processes in particular.
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked. I'll give you an example of one of our customers. Does that work?
Please.
Awesome. So we're working with an insurance consortium right now. And just to give you a little bit of background on kind of what the consortium looks like, there's kind of a main consortium, and they work with a number of different insurance carriers. And each insurance carrier has, data on vehicle claims. The vehicle claims contain data on, the car that crashed, right? Who was injured, if there were any witnesses, other information about these witnesses, about the passengers, about the car itself. Now, this insurance consortium is attempting to fight fraud by essentially identifying what they're calling double dipping in the kind of the fraud detection use case. So in particular, like let's say, you're insurance company A, I'm insurance company B, and for whatever reason, we have a customer that has insurance with both me and you. Now, what we've heard is that this customer may, be involved in a collision intentionally or not, I don't know, but they will file a claim with you, and then they will file a claim with me. And if we did not know that we had a joint customer, we may have to pay out the settlement or pay out the claim to this, this person that we're insuring. So what we've kind of seen in this case is that by being able to combine the data, now these two insurance carriers are able to kind of realize that, number one, we have this joint customer, and number two, that this joint customer filed the exact same claim for the exact same collision across both of us. And that's fantastic, right? And that enables both of us to save expenses, to save costs, and to realize that this person is fraudulent. The problem is that 99% of people are acting benevolently. They're not acting maliciously, right? And really, there's no reason for us to really be able to see the data or the passenger names, the witness names, even the vehicle number of most of these claims. And that's where the kind of privacy aspect comes in, where I think all of these customers, all of these consumers deserve to have their privacy maintained, preserved. So we, as insurance carriers, should not be able to actually see the underlying data for these claims, and that's kind of where confidential computing comes in.
That's a remarkable story. The lengths people will go to.
Right? Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. So I imagine there's a long tail of unusual, especially in B2B contexts, benefits like that. I wonder if you could, from your perspective, speak to some of your favorite, more general positive business outcomes or new technical capabilities that are enabled once an organization has successfully implemented confidential computing.
Yeah. So, for example, what we've seen is we're working with another customer, ServiceNow, and what they're trying to do is they are attempting. Again, it's all about time to value, right? So, just to give you a little bit of background, they are currently building what they're calling a kind of a sales commission assistant that will analyze this kind of maze of data that sits in some arbitrary database somewhere that, basically they use this assistant to try to automatically tell the salesperson why their commission was calculated in a certain fashion. Normally, without this automation, what the process is, the sales commission the salesperson will file a request manually with some I saw this commission in my paycheck. Why was it calculated this way? After that, a sales commission representative will have to look through this maze of data, try to figure out why this software calculated the commission in a certain fashion, and then reply to the salesperson. And as you can imagine, it takes a long time, and there's a backlog of these requests. So the salesperson is not happy because, number one, their commission was not up to what they expected. Number two, the sales representative is not happy because they're dealing with a bunch of frustrated salespeople all day, and they have to, navigate through this maze of data that I'm sure it's not pleasant to work with. So the intention of this project is to kind of create an automated assistant that can actually, pull from the data sources and then actually use a LLM at LLM, because it's a thing now, but LLM. Kind of in the back end to understand and to perform the analysis as kind of the assistant. And this will automate away a lot of the manual time that the sales representative has to take to answer the question. And as you can imagine, the sales data also contains a lot of sensitive information, right? It contains personal information on the sales representative, a lot of information that the LLM provider, should not and does not need to know. So the question really here is, how can ServiceNow take advantage of using third-party LLMs, which I think everybody should take advantage of, right? They're very innovative, they iterate very quickly. You don't need to maintain it yourself. It's probably cheaper to have a third-party LLM if you don't need to fine-tune it or anything like that, right? So there's a lot of benefits of using a third-party LLM. How do you use a third-party LLM while preserving the privacy of your employee data, of your customer data? And what we're offering here as Opaque is we've kind of offered them a application on top of our confidential AI platform to enable them to use or leverage the third-party LLM while kind of maintaining the privacy of the customer and the employee data. So that's kind of a specific example, right? But I think more generally, what we've been seeing again is that it's really about accelerating time to value, both on the kind of implementing and building new processes, new tools, but also just saving time, and which is equivalent to cutting costs, right, in the enterprise.
That's great. That's great. It's a good segue to your big announcement that you made yesterday.
Yes.
Will you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're super excited to share the next generation release of our confidential AI platform. Some highlights of the platform, right? We now offer more flexible, powerful, and portable workloads so that customers can take their existing workloads, port them over to this platform, to the Opaque platform. They can secure the workload now. There's no changes needed on the API side of things, so they can use their existing languages, their existing frameworks, the tools that they already know and love, and run that on the platform. I'll outline a couple other benefits too. The kind of second thing is that we now have also taken security to the next level on this platform. So previously, all network communication was done via standard TLS, right? So communication is encrypted. We've now upgraded that network communication to something called attested TLS. What that means is that you're able to not only authenticate the process this is a little bit technical, but we're not able to only authenticate the process on the server, but you're also able to authenticate the code and the hardware that is backing that server. Another security benefit is that, so this is very much driven from kind of customer requests, but what we've heard over and over again, and what we actually heard today as well, is that customers care not only about the privacy of their data, they also care about, specifically in the data sharing scenario, how their data is actually being used. So what we've seen is that, audit logs, audit trails are a kind of standard solution to that, but we take that to the next level by offering what we're calling verifiable audit trails. So the verification comes in because each audit log record, each individual record is now signed. There's a cryptographic signature over the record rooted in the hardware itself. And what that means is that the data owner who has shared the data can now cryptographically verify what has happened or what has been performed on the platform itself. So those are some of the security benefits. I touched on the functional benefits as well. Some other functional benefits, right? We now support a native Python runtime. So this is really so that, again, the users of the platform can use tools and frameworks that they already know and love. So those are some of the highlights of the platform. We're super, super excited to share this.
Fantastic. Where do you see this all going in the long term, medium to long term, and what's really important to you for the confidential computing industry to keep in mind and stay true to?
So the vision for us really always has been that everything, all runtime, all compute runs within confidential computing. We think that this will be the de facto privacy solution for a lot of the issues that we've been seeing today. As we all know, AI is taking over the world. And as we all know, AI relies on data. And in this kind of capitalistic society, right, each enterprise is really trying to find a way to differentiate from all the other enterprises. And my personal belief is that differentiator will be the data that they own and the data that they have. So data for them will be the moat, right? And how do you operationalize your data while keeping it as the moat for yourself and ensure that you're not sharing this data with a competitor or some other third party in an insecure fashion. So what I think is that, confidential computing will be the de facto way of computing in general, especially for AI workloads. The kind of concern that I have there, right, is we need to make it such that confidential computing is accessible for all. Our team, and I specifically, have the experience of building a lot of technology with and on top of confidential computing, and it's not fun. It's some low-level stuff, right? The debugging is not the best, and so it's a very kind of frustrating experience overall. And I would personally say it's not very accessible. if you haven't spent, a significant amount of time kind of invested in the ecosystem, invested in the space. So it's really hard to kind of build for. So I think, as a community and as kind of an ecosystem, we need to kind of bridge the gap from, kind of the lower level primitives that confidential computing offers to the APIs and the languages and the frameworks that, more people are familiar with and more people will use today. And I think as long as we make that accessible with the vision that I outlined just now, will be achievable.